basement. Thanks.
Welcome, Doug. Thank you.
I want to start off a little bit different way. Because we're going to take a trip back in time. And I thought that if we could kind of think about 1890s. Your lighting is a candle or an oil lamp. That's pretty much it. And many people in the 1890s could not afford the oil for their lamp, so they had to revert to candles. But there was something new coming in. Something new that was brand new. It was the technology advancement of the decade. Electricity. If you were lucky in 1893, that's the light you would have in your house. That's all the electric light you would have in your house. One bulb. Imagine going to a place where you heard that there's 100,000 light bulbs that will be turned on like that. It's amazing. The World's Fair, the Colombian World's Fair, 1893, was originally scheduled to start in 1892. It was not a government project, but it was somewhat delayed. It was delayed for a lot of different reasons. And if you cannot hear me, please raise your hand. I can actually see people, so that's not a problem. We can raise them up just a little bit more. 1893, let me set you in another part of this. Because there's another thing you have to know about 1893. You all know, and you've read about, a crash that happened in 1929. Was the worst economic crash we'd ever experienced. If you don't count the crash of 1893. Crash of 1893 was one of the worst economic disasters in our country. Thousands of banks and businesses went out of business. People were unemployed. Millions and millions of folks across the country were unemployed. And they're going to hold an exposition. They advertised it all over the world. They wanted to invite the world to come to visit this. But first, they had to figure out where they're going to hold it. So they had a competition. Detroit wanted to be the place. So to prove that they could actually hold an exposition in 1899 or 1889, they held an agricultural fair in Detroit. And it was pretty successful, except that there was another fair going on at the same time, and it sort of took away a lot of their thing. Somehow people wanted to go to Paris instead of Detroit. Go figure. New York City wanted to be the site for the Colombian World's Fair, Colombian Exposition. And J.P. Morgan desperately wanted it in his town, in New York City. But he ran into some trouble. J.P. Morgan didn't lose a lot of battles, but this battle he lost. See, Marshall Fields was a relatively wealthy man in Chicago. He had a huge department store, he owned a lot of land, and he owned all kinds of stuff, and he decided that Chicago was the place for the Colombian World's Fair. And he threw a whole bunch of money in. So eventually, they decided to take it to Chicago. So they started promoting it. You could see articles in the Scientific American. They printed their own newspaper so you could see what was going on. And that newspaper was going on every single day. So people all over the country could pick up that paper and see what was happening at the fair last week. Because you wouldn't get this week's because you had to be at the fair to get this week's. So we're going to join, we're going to get on the train here. It's a bit of a ride to get to Chicago. So we'll have some time to talk along the way. Now, one of the things that they wanted to do in the Chicago World's Fair is they wanted something that was going to be a standout, something that was going to say, this is a special place. And they had a competition. And one of the engineers that entered the competition submitted this. He thought this was the perfect anchor for the Colombian World's Fair. And they really liked his enthusiasm, and they really liked everything he had done, but they remembered that the Eiffel Tower was built for the fair in Paris, and they felt this looked too much like the Eiffel Tower. I don't know how they were looking or how much beer they've been drinking. To me, that doesn't look like the Eiffel Tower. It was a 360 some odd foot tall, all the way up. There's a little area up in here where you could stand and you could look around. There were elevators going up on both sides. If you take the thing off the top, it sort of reminds me of something that's in St. Louis, which was built for the St. Louis Fair in 1994. But this one was not done. They decided not to do this one. They sent the gentleman back to the drawing board. They said, Mr. Ferris, you need to come up with a different idea. This is too reminiscent of other things. So he came up with a different idea. In the design of the fair, there were over 200 buildings that were built. The fair itself built a number of them. But they also had states build their own house that they could showcase, and the states had to pay for it. They had countries that came in and built their own exhibit, and they had to pay for it. These were the buildings that were built by the fair itself. Now, the one thing that's kind of interesting to know is that one right there, the Manufacturers and Liberal Arts Building. No, that's not a typo. That building was 1.3 million square feet. 1.3 million square feet. You could fit, you've all been to the Veterans Memorial, at least you've seen, you've driven past it, right? You could fit that in a corner of the building and you wouldn't notice it, you might walk past it. They built full-size cathedrals in the middle of that building. But they had to build it first. Now, one thing you should know about the fairs is none of these buildings were designed to last. They were going to last for the 6 months of the fair. That's it. The state buildings, when they were done, were taken down and sold and sent around to other places. The buildings from the countries, they were sent around. Some of them still exist. Most of them are gone. The building that you see over here, this is the inside of the women's building. The women's building was not the biggest building on the fair. It was one of the first ones to be completed because the women's clubs were very involved in planning for the fair. Very involved. They decided that they needed a building where women could come and relax and have tea and just get out of the hustle and bustle of the fair. And so they built this large building. If you notice, the framework in there, that's all steel. The fair was built primarily with steel framework. And then on the outside of the steel framework, they put plaster. A little thicker than the plaster you use in your walls, but it's a plaster nonetheless. They put the plaster on and they covered the plaster with paint. Every building you see, with one exception, is built this way. Every building that you see was designed to last no more than 6 months. But they had to do something else. They wanted to do something else that was absolutely amazing. Electricity was in its birth. companies all over the world were exploring electricity. And they wanted to showcase electricity at the fair. And they thought, what better way than to light up the fair? And so they set out a contract. Mr. Edison has a company that's involved in electricity, you may know, and he submitted a bill. He and J.P. Morgan, his partner. Their bill was a little high. Mr. Westinghouse won the contract. He way underbid. In fact, he underbid so much he didn't expect to make a profit. One of the first buildings to be completed was the electrical generating house. While some of the other buildings were still being built, people were lining up to come in to the electrical building where they were generating all the power. Now, it was so loud and so messy and so just cramped. Well, not cramped, it was a big building. It felt cramped. The people could only stay in there for about 5 minutes before they had to leave. The gentleman who worked there, the one gentleman who ran all the power for the whole fair, he wore ear protectors. He couldn't hear them when they were talking, and he was just going back and forth, answering the phones and whatever. People lined up for hours just to get in this building so they could spend 5 minutes watching electricity being generated. They were looking at these machines. That's all they were doing.
Can I ask a stupid question?
You can ask all kinds of questions. I don't consider any of them stupid.
Well, if it was answering the phone, how did they do it?
He had an earpiece. He had an earpiece. Oddly enough, one of Mr. Westinghouse's inventions was a telephone switchboard. And as part of the telephone switchboard, he had a headset that he developed for the person working in that. And the telephone switchboard headset is what this gentleman wore. And then he had ear protectors over it. He had to have the ear protectors because he couldn't hear what they were saying on the phone.
But then they could make that kind of thing for you. It's kind of amazing.
So there was a lot of advancements that happened. Now, in order to build this fair, because when they started building the fair, they started looking around. Oddly enough, there seemed to be this open piece of land, which was called a park, but it really wasn't a park, and Mr. Fields happened to own it. Go figure. And he donated it. The park that he donated was swampland. And they decided to build the fair on this swampland. So the first thing they did is they said, well, we got to do something with landscaping, right? Now, usually landscaping is the last thing to do, but for some reason they decided to do it first. So they looked around for a landscaper, and they found this guy who had done this park in, I believe, Central Park. Yeah, Frederick Olmsted designed the grounds for the World's Fair. So he designed the grounds with all the lagoons and everything. He designed how people were going to ride, the vistas that they were going to have. He designed the whole thing. Then the buildings were designed by various architects. Each building had its own architect, each building had its own crew, each building had its own budget. All that to get here. We've now arrived. See, I talked all the way through our trip to Chicago. We arrived at the fairgrounds. This is the train station that was built on the fairgrounds to accommodate the trains. There were more trains arriving in the station at the World's Fair than were arriving in downtown Chicago. When you arrive at the fair, you're greeted by the gate, where you have to pay your admission. 50 cents will get you into most of the buildings. There's an additional charge for some of the buildings along the way, and for some of the amusements, but 50 cents gets you into most everything. They call it White City. It was also called Fairyland. It was called all kinds of other stuff. Yes?
Inflation, what was that rate to now?
considering that there was a huge depression at the time, it's probably close to what a Disneyland ticket is. Yeah. Excuse me? It would be probably in the 50 to 75 range at least. I don't know exactly, but keep in mind most people are out of work, and that quarter, they squealed that quarter as it came out.
What's your take on the, in fact, they want the electricity because it's new and it's cool and you want it, but do you also think it was just like, how did JP Morgan? Because he's, he had the first one, house,
He had actually the second. The first house was a, it failed. When Edison electrified the first house, which happened to be a friend of JP Morgan's, when they turned on the generator, it blew up the side of the house, and the lady was not pleased.
But do you think that
JP
had
Morgan,
something to do with it?
Oh.
Fields and Morgan,
JP Morgan and Marshall Fields did not see eye to eye, but JP Morgan and George Westinghouse did see eye to eye. They had words along the way. Now, if you wanted to, you didn't have to take the train. You could take a ship. We're on the Great Lakes. You could take a ship. You could take the World's Fair steamship, arrive at this long pier, and take what's called the moving sidewalk. For 10 cents, you could get on this moving sidewalk, and it would take you all the way from the end down there, all the way down and around, and if you wanted to, you could ride it all the way back and spend all day there if you wanted. It's up to you. There's more things to see. You might want to see other things other than this, but it was definitely an attraction. They had concerts and stuff there. This is kind of the grounds. If we're arriving by train, we're arriving here. Those are all train tracks coming into the fair. If you're arriving by ship, there is a moving sidewalk, and you're going to arrive in here, and you're going to enter the grand basement, the Hall of Honor. And you're going to come through, if you're coming by boat, you're going to come through the water gate. Not that way. This is the water gate. It was a peristyle. It was the grand entrance. It was meant to wow. The gate that we walked through for the train was also meant to wow. This was way over the top because they fully expected most people were going to arrive by steamship. As it turned out, I think probably more people arrived by train, but I don't know. It was pretty close. Every day, every single day during the 6 months that this fair was open, visitors flocked to this 600-acre park. And every time they walked through that gate and saw the White City, their reaction was always, wow, what a place. Opening day. Actually, that's in Chicago, they had ticket, but this was opening day. If you look really closely, I have found one patch of ground on that picture. Most everything you see are heads and shoulders. That wasn't unusual. A lot of folks, on Chicago Day, they basically emptied the city. But people came from all over the world to see this. 1 in 4 Americans visited this exposition during its 6-month run. Not all on the same day. I do have to say. Another shot of just general people. This is the inside of one of the buildings. And again, you're not seeing anything there except people's heads, with the exception of the band there because they got their music. That's the only other thing you see. This was not an unusual thing during the day. Perhaps maybe not quite so many people, but it was not an unusual. When you entered through the water gate, you came into the Court of Honor. And if I'm in your way, just tell me because I can move around. I'm trying to move so you get a chance to see that. But I have to have this. The statue that you see there, that's the statue of Columbia. I want you to remember that because you're going to see her head. The building at the end was the administration building. They had buildings all around. There was exhibits throughout. This is looking over the wooded island. And this is the manufacturers and liberal arts building. That's 1.3, almost 1.4 million square feet of indoor space.
I hate to be a terrible one, but I'm looking to be, I'm fascinated by the infrastructure. What the devil do they do with the sewage and the water?
When they set up this exposition, they had their own police force, they had their own trash force, they had their own water treatment plant. All of that was right there on site. They dealt with it all right there on site.
So, flush toilets?
No. That was a little too advanced because they didn't have them. They did have toilets. The women's room had sort of, you might call them flush toilets. They were new, but they were not flush toilets like we know. It flushed into a cistern and then pumped the cistern. Water closet. So it wasn't connected to like sewage treatment, sewage pipes and whatever.
What they would have today, right?
Yeah, it's similar with, they not the porta john stuff. They did have some of that as well. No. They were very adamant that they did not want it to go into the lake because this is 10 miles north of Chicago. Between where the fair is and Chicago is the water treatment plant, where they're sucking water out of the Great Lake, out of Lake Michigan, and that's the drinking water for the city of Chicago. So they were pretty adamant they didn't want to pollute the river. Yeah, it's kind of the same system. Another view of it here. This is a fascinating building. Inside the buildings were huge multi-layers of exhibits and just on and on and on about exhibits that were there. Things from all over the world. Things that were brand new. You may not even think about that particular thing that the cursor's on right now. That's an electric boat. They were introduced at the fair. They didn't want the pollution from the steamships and all they wanted, so they used electric boats. They were battery powered. They could operate for a certain series of hours before they had to replace the batteries. Remember the statue of Columbia? That's her head. Columbia stood 68 feet tall, not counting her stand. This is the inside of the manufacturers and liberal arts building. Imagine building a building that's going to last 6 months. It's nothing but steel and plastic. It's big enough to put those buildings inside it. And the buildings that they put inside it look small. These are huge. Not in the park. In the park, the ladies were very adamant. When they were helping to design this, they were very adamant. At first, they said absolutely, well, throughout, they said absolutely no alcohol. There will be no alcohol on the grounds at all. They also were adamant that nothing was open on Sunday. Sunday the fair closed. It was pointed out that the fair planners said, okay, that's fine, we can do the no alcohol, we can do that outside, we get this place planned for the outside. But just so you know, we've got millions of people that are going to come to town, and if there's nothing for them to do, they're going to go to the bars. So the ladies decided it would be okay to open on Sunday. As you went into the manufacturer's building, there was a couple of things that you might want to take a look at. One of them is this display from upstate New York, Kodak. They had come out with film and a box camera. You could go around the fair and take pictures, bring it back to their exhibit. They would develop it, and you could leave with a set You could go to the Michigan Stove Company. I happen to be from Michigan, that's why I had to throw that one in. And it was talking about the latest and greatest stoves that there was out there. But another one that was very, very popular was a little hidden thing, kind of, not really in the corner, but it was not really right in the center of everything. It couldn't be because of what it was the Otis Company. They created an elevator. And for 25 cents, you could ride the elevator to the top of the building to get an eagle-eye view of the White City. Lots of people did that. A few people got scared when they went. People traveled all over. In the end, 26 million people walked through the gates to see this place. This is looking at the waterfront, back in the States. The state buildings are here. That's the manufacturers of the large building. Some of the other stuff that's back there, it's not hard to see. This is the administration building. That's the government building. U.S. government has its own building there. You see that? Sorry. It's the Colombian Exposition. We have to have the Bean and the Pinto there, right?
Where's the sanctuary?
It didn't make it. They ran out of time, from what I understand. I think they probably ran out of some money too. These are obviously recreations, but you can actually get on the ship and see how Columbus arrived here. No, he did not arrive on the shores of Lake Michigan. Just to clarify that. You could also get on a Viking ship. You could also get on a U.S. destroyer. Now, in 1893, we haven't seen a lot of those. You could get on this ship and you could walk around the ship. But the problem was the Navy was a little busy. And they couldn't allow a ship to be just docked there for the whole 6 months. That didn't stop the fair planners. They got out their plaster and their cement, and they made a cement model of the full size that you could get on and wander around and see it. Manufacturing building, they had all kinds of new stuff, new products that were out there. Horticulture building, you could go in there and see exhibits that were amazing. You could see exhibits from California. That whole Liberty Bell is made with oranges. Now, if you were really good this year, for Christmas you might get one orange. This was one of several exhibits that they put up, and every single day they took out the oranges and put in new ones. New Jersey had its own agricultural exhibit. We'll leave it. There was a lot of agriculture going on. But as you're wandering around the buildings, don't forget to look at other things. Because it's not just the buildings. They have all kinds of sculptures. This is Blind Man's Bluff, one of the sculptures that you can just walk by and see. Again, these are just plaster sculptures designed to last for a few months and then be gone. You're taking a boat ride, you're being met by this rather large bull, and I'm not sure what she's doing there, looks like she's feeding. This is the Columbia ship. This was in the middle of the Hall of Honor, that center section. This is another view of it. Can you imagine if Binghamton was going to commission that as a sculpture for a garden? And then they were to come to the taxpayers and say, oh, by the way, it's only going to be up for 6 months. They had exhibits from all over the country, all over the world. This is the Canadian exhibit talking about the people of Canada. This was the headhunter and aboriginal display. That's the way they listed it. They had all kinds of ethno exhibits all around. They had one of the more popular exhibits at the beginning of the fair was the Lapland exhibit. They had folks coming in the full fur outfits, snowshoes, the sled. Chicago, it's cold. It's not cold in July in Chicago. And so their exhibit ad was one of the first ones that had to close because their folks just couldn't take the heat. Another view of the central area. The area, this is the Watergate, the peristyle is coming in. That's the statue of Columbia there. Machinery Hall, another area that was roads. Machinery Hall was another area where you saw all kinds of new things happen. And again, keep in mind, this building is plaster. It's not stone. Had an East Indian building to tell a story about East Indian culture. And you could go in and you could see all these things, and yes, of course, you could buy things to take home. One of the things that the Colombian Exposition invented, if you will, are things to take home. Anybody gone on a trip and bought a postcard? Thank you, Colombian Exposition. This is the first place they had. Women's Art Building, they had a number of beautiful pieces of art. These were not the top-end pieces of art, but these were very nice pieces of art. These were not the top end because this building, like every other building on the ground except for one, leaked. But you could still go around and you could take your pictures, you could take a stroll around the grounds and see what was going on. And in the women's building and a couple of the other buildings, you could see exhibits that related to women. Now the electric corset exhibit was actually in the Hall of Electricity. It was sort of a early weight loss thing. It would give you stimulation to your nerves to help stimulate. They did a lot of weird things with electricity back then. Yes. Electricity was new, so they had all kinds of ways you could make electricity make you have a better life. And sometimes you plug yourself in, and sometimes you plug the thing in. The Arts Building, as I said, is actually one of the only buildings that's still on the grounds of the fair. It is, if you've ever been to Chicago, this is the Art Museum. And the little waterway that's in front of the Art Museum, it's right around it, that was designed by Frederick Law Olmsted. That was part of this whole thing. A very small part of it, but it's still part of it nonetheless. This was the one building that was built to last. Because if you're going to loan a massive piece of art, it's irreplaceable, you don't want to put it in a building that leaks. So, you build it, you put it in a building that's actually got it is a rather substantial building. That looks massive, it's actually one of the smallest buildings.
So that's Forest Park here? Okay.
Forest Park.
Forest Park.
In its day, it was basically swampy. If you were in the day picking up a newspaper, you would see all kinds of art on there to show you different things. This was the Fisheries Building. Don't think of the Fisheries Building as a big building. It is actually a relatively large building because it was an industry of the day. Fisheries was a growing building, a growing industry. So this is the entrance to the Fisheries Building. That's the building itself. And again, just as a reminder, that building is plastic. Now you notice it's kind of pretty. They painted it. Can you imagine trying to paint all these buildings white? Because that was the only color they wanted everything to be white. Because when you walked into this lot, into the center of this, they wanted it to just shine in the sunlight. They wanted everything to be white. Can you imagine how many hours it would take to paint that with a paintbrush? Creative gentlemen came up with an idea. Well, you know what? We've got electrical power. I've got a hose. I can make a spray gun, and we can spray paint this. They invented spray paint, the Colombian Exposition. It was not one of the ones that they usually brag about, but they did it nonetheless. Hall of Electricity was another one of the big events. That's one of the places, again, where people had to go. This building had generators that were going on. They had exhibits from all over the world, all kinds of electrical generators. And as you walk in, who do you walk past? Who else? Ben Franklin, the inventor of electricity, right? Okay, maybe not. Give you an idea of the size of the Hall of Electricity. As you walk into the Hall of Electricity, you start seeing lights. It's the Hall of Electricity. It makes sense to see lights. Here's one of the exhibits. They kind of dim the lighting, and that's actually a recreation. Gives you an idea nonetheless. This is the hall itself. That's the tower that you just saw. You probably have heard the name Nikola Tesla. Nikola Tesla and George Westinghouse are the ones who developed the alternating current system that we use today. Nikola Tesla and George Westinghouse were brilliant men. Absolutely brilliant men. I'm not discounting Mr. E's contribution. Yes, I refer to him as Mr. E. But he was also there, Mr. E was also there, but they had exhibits from Germany and Japan. They had exhibits from South America. They had exhibits from all over the world with people that were working on figuring out a way to make electricity work. And this was Nikola Tesla's exhibit. It was a recreation of his workshop. And every day, he would come in at a certain time, and he would put on a show. And Nikola Tesla, everybody said, if you don't see anything else, you've got to see Nikola Tesla's show, because he puts on a show. He had the Tesla coil that you see in Science Museum. He had some of them here that were 15 feet tall. He had people standing linked and electricity running through all of it. It was absolutely amazing. And the whole point of it was to prove that electricity was not nearly as dangerous as Mr. E said. They also had this little building here from Germany. This was a really interesting building. They had all kinds of things, technological innovations from Germany, but the one thing that people saw that was absolutely, you had to go see this, was the Krupp's cannon. The Krupp's cannon barely fit in here. They actually had this section of the roof that moved, that they could kind of, it was like a tarp, and they could roll it back so you could raise the cannon. They had to agree to take the firing pin out of the cannon because it could have fired a shot from where they were all the way across Lake Michigan to Michigan. And somehow Michigan didn't think that was a good idea, so they asked that the cannon not be fired. But they had all kinds of exhibits in there. Behind that, and this is something I haven't been able to confirm yet, behind that is leather exhibit. And I believe that Endicott Johnson and the shoemakers and all probably had an exhibit there. I just have not been able to confirm it. The U.S. government building was there, showing your tax dollars at work. Maybe. But they showed all the different departments. This is where you could go and see the post office. You could see how efficient it was. You could buy commemorative stamps. First time they were ever issued by the government here at the fair. You could buy postcards and have them mailed right there from the fair, and it would be stamped at the World's Fair. You could see all kinds of stuff that was there. You could see the U.S. Lighthouse Service. I had to put that one in. You could see the Lighthouse Service. They were exhibiting their Fresnel lenses that they just gotten in from France. You can see the Smithsonian. One of the most popular exhibits in the U.S. government building was an exhibit that they kind of threw up at the last minute, and it was kind of in the side time, it was the post office that did it, and it was their dead letters. And it was all the things that people tried to make. They did have to taxidermy some of the animals because they died to make. But they had to recreate some of the stuff because food doesn't look good after it's been out for a while. But they had all kinds of, you would be absolutely amazed. People would put stamps on a bicycle and mail it. Just a stamp on a bicycle. No box, no address. They would just try to mail it. Well, how do you deliver a bicycle if you don't know where it's going to go? So that was amazing. The states buildings, again, were amazing places. Each of the states, each of the countries built their own. This is the Idaho building. This is just one of the buildings. This is New York State's building.
How do we build buildings that only going to last 6 months, but able to carry that kind of weight on 2 or 3 or 4 months?
You see, in my 1880s, 1870s, 1880s, they developed a new way of making steel. The Bessemer steel mill, steel process came in. And Mr. Carnegie brought it over to this country. And he stopped making rails for railroads and started making construction steel. And so all the high rises that were built in steel, and even today, they're all built with a metal framework. Same way they built it here. Now they were just perfecting it here. That's quite legal. It didn't quite work the way they wanted. But it was all metal framework, and then they did, they had to use the plaster and some, they used wood in it as well. But it was the structure itself, the support for it, was all metal. Now the state's buildings, New York State brought that building in. They brought it in on the train and assembled it there. New York State didn't want to go halfway, so they spent a bit of money on theirs. Idaho did too, if you look very, we still do spend, yeah. I think we have the record for spending on our Capitol building, even if it isn't. It's a bunch of exhibits, and I know I'm going on, so I'm just kind of flipping through. If you were going into the electricity building, one of the things you could learn about is exercise. Because exercise is important, and that electric corset would help you with whatever. This was I think, torture device. It was designed by somebody who really didn't like people very much, and it was designed to beat you in the stomach, beat you in the back. They had others that were designed to beat you and massage you, they said, in various other parts. Wrigley's Spearmint Gum. You've all got a piece of, actually you've got Juicy Fruit, that was their original. I couldn't find an original picture of Juicy Fruit. Wrigley's Juicy Fruit Gum was exhibited in the Manufacturers and Liberal Arts Building as a giveaway. The gentleman made soap. And he discovered nobody was coming into his exhibit, but when he was when he was experimenting with different soaps, he came across this gum. So he started giving it out as presents to people who stopped in at his booth. It became so popular, he got rid of the soap company and went wholly into the gum department. This is a patent drawing for an exhibit, for a new introduction. It was the automatic closing device. We know it as a zipper. It was debuted here, not quite the same way. And I think that one goes without saying. That was also debuted here. That was, when you were asking about sanitary facilities, that was one of the types of sanitary facilities that you might experience in some of the buildings. I don't know if they were all crackers, but they sort of become known as that. Russia had a big exhibit that was very popular. Let's see that. This is the outside of the transportation building. This is lining up to get into the transportation building. Again, all of that that detail, all of that carving, it's all plaster. It's been spray painted. Inside of the transportation building, huge. One of the biggest exhibits in there, well, one of the most popular exhibits in there, was a new up-and-coming thing, the bicycle. The year after the fair, 5 million bicycles were sold in this country alone.
Was Curtis there?
Curtis was there. And this is one of the outfits that you might wear. Somebody was asking about clothing. This is one of the outfits you might wear as if you were a woman, obviously. It's like Duryea, Frenchman, developed this thing called the horseless carriage. It was steered by a bob. Stared at all the horses as he drove around. It wasn't very effective, but he exhibited it in the 1893 exposition. You could actually get your picture taken in a fake car, because it wasn't a real car. There was another exhibit that was really popular. It would have been really popular if you got a chance to eat it. It's 38 feet tall, it's all chocolate. Hand-carved chocolate. This particular device here in the corner, brand new.
How did they keep that from melting in July?
That, they don't tell me. I don't know. I have a feeling there was a secret. I have a feeling it died with the chocolatier. And I have a feeling that because nobody was eating it, it was probably not edible chocolate. It says it was chocolate. It doesn't necessarily mean it has to be edible.
I'll just scrape around.
I probably would take a stab at it. This little thing here in the corner was debuted. Every 10 years, the country has got to do a census. This is the census counting machine that was debuted in the 1893 fair. The Hall of Mining had all kinds of new stuff that was going on. And one of the things that they introduced in the Hall of Mining was a pneumatic hammer, which made mining safer, made it a little easier to get various ores and all. Now, after you've spent days, most likely, going through the World's Fair, you want a break. You want a beer. I know that. And you can't get one at the fair. Did you know that? You won't let me, the women won't let you do that. Well, the fair organizers decided that they would set up this other area, not in the fair, for all the things that didn't fit in the fair. They call it the Midway Plaisance. And this is where Mr. Ferris's wheel is put. Mr. Ferris's wheel would put it at the far end of the Midway Plaisance so that you would have to walk through the whole area to see it. You have to walk by all those exhibits along the way. And this is where some of the countries put their exhibits. Germany's exhibit was out here, not in the fair. The big exhibit. They had the Phelps exhibit. That was manufacturing. Well, what are Germans known for? Beer, right? They're not going to be outdone. They have to have their beer displayed. There were so many beer companies that were on display in the Midway that they had a competition early on to see whose beer was best. I think the competition was slanted somewhat because the winner was a company called Pabst. Yeah. Personally, I think I would pick another beer, but I would pick one of ours from back there, but much better than Pabst. Yes?
So the fair was going on for 6 months, but
6 months.
so many buildings, so many exhibits. How long did it actually take you to get through the fair and see everything?
There are guidebooks that were written about how, and there's probably 50 or 60 guidebooks about how to get through the fair and see the fair and whatever. Most of them say 6 to 8 weeks to go through the fair. Not counting the Midway.
Oh, okay.
Now that also depends on if you're there on Chicago Day and you're walking around like this or like this is long.
Did you have to pay daily to enter? Or?
Yes, you could buy a pass, and most of the Chicagoans bought a pass, and you could buy a weekly pass. So a lot of the folks that came in, they would buy a weekly pass, and they would stay in town, do whatever, come to the fair every day. You could come there when they opened at 9 o'clock in the morning, and you could stay until they closed. And in the midway, never closed. You could have fun there all day long. Now, if you happen to be Irish, you could go to the Irish village, and yes, you could buy a beer in the Irish village. You could also buy whiskey and other things in the Irish village, and you could climb to the top of the tower there, and yes, you too could lean over the tower and kiss the Blarney Stone. Okay, it was a fake Blarney Stone, but it was a Blarney Stone nonetheless. The streets of Cairo, one of the most popular exhibits, one of the places that every man had to go to. You ladies, of course, might not want to be going through there because the streets of Cairo were a little rough. You see, there were street vendors, and they were selling all kinds of things, but that's not what made it rough. What made it exciting for us to go in was they had, right over here in the corner, you can't really see it, it says the dancing hall. And in the dancing hall, there was an exhibit. You have to call her an exhibit because she was. And she danced to traditional music, but a gentleman visited her so often and fell in love with her that he wrote a song for her. Na, 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 Little Egypt. And of course, you would never allow him to go to Little Egypt. And I won't tell her I saw him do that. Little Egypt made belly dancing popular. Very popular, actually. Because you could also buy a reader while you were there. The other thing you could do, you've seen the stereoscope slides. I've got a few of them up here. You've seen little things when you hold it up in your face and you can see. Have you ever seen a group stereoscope slide? Hot air balloon rides were given. But the big attraction at the Midway was the Ferris wheel. Mr. Ferris's wheel. You would come up, you'd first walk past all the machinery, because this is a giant wheel that moves around, and you have to have machinery to make it work. So you had people that's their whole job, is to do that and make sure that you didn't get caught in the road. Then you would come up these steps to get into the cars. And you've all been on a Ferris wheel, I'm sure, right? You know what a Ferris wheel looks like. I want you to notice those. Those are the cars for the Ferris wheel. Those cars are Pullman Railroad cars. They hold 60 people in each car. Ferris wheel could hold at one time nearly 2,200 people. And it didn't fall down. And it cost you 50 cents to ride the road. This was the first Ferris wheel. The very first Ferris wheel. Now, there is some argument that there was another guy that built a wheel. It was a water-powered thing. This is the first Ferris wheel because Mr. Ferris designed it, and it was his wheel, and he built it. So, this one was the first one. It stayed in Chicago for a number of years. In 1904, it was taken to St. Louis, and it was exhibited in St. Louis. It made lots of money throughout the year, but after the 1904, there were other Ferris wheels. It was difficult to maintain, whatever. As you're going up on this Ferris wheel, you can look across and see the other cars that are over there. You go around the Ferris wheel twice. That was the 50-cent quadruple ride. There was a gentleman who was riding one of the cars, and he got scared. You're 368, almost 370 feet in the air when you're on the top. And he was getting scared. These are glass-sided cars. You don't have anything between you and the world. And he got scared. And the attendant, every car had its own attendant, the attendant couldn't calm him down. So one quick-thinking lady went over to him and lifted up her dress and put it over his head and sat him down and calmed him down until they could get the car back down and get him off. Yeah, I remember that for the next time I'm on a Ferris wheel, but if I'm on a Ferris wheel with 68 people, I'm not sure I'm I'm sure that there was, yeah. I don't know, maybe not. It's an absolutely amazing thing. There was a lot of fear it wasn't going to work. There was a lot of fear that it was going to be. You got 2,200 people on this thing. What happens if it stops? Worse, what happens if it doesn't stop? So they had to look around for a way to stop it. Well, luckily there was a gentleman here at the fair who was very well acquainted with stopping things like massive things, like trains. He'd invented the air brakes to stop trains. And it just so happened that Mr. Westinghouse was on the grounds for a bit of the time, and Mr. Ferris and Mr. Westinghouse got together, so Mr. Westinghouse developed a brake system for the Ferris wheel. So it was actually, the brake was a train air brake. But yes, there was all kinds of concerns. If it wasn't going to work, the cars were going to fall off, there was all kinds of concerns. The first time that it went around full, Mr. Ferris was actually on the Ferris wheel at the time. He was one of the first people to get on and one of the last people to get off. And he said in one of his memoirs, he prayed the entire time. Now, you've been to the fair, and you've seen the fair, but you haven't seen the fair. Because you need to be at the fair after the dark, after the lights go down, after the sun goes down. That's when part of the fair comes alive. That's when the electricity building comes into full force. When they had the first turning on the switch, that court looked as busy as it did on Chicago Day. People stopped shoulder to shoulder. The president was going to turn the switch. But Mr. E had done such a good job telling everybody how dangerous electricity was. We're going to have the president throw the switch and he's surrounded by water. What are we thinking? So what they actually did is they had him throw a Phelps switch. And they had a little telephone line hooked up to the guy in the electricity building, and when the president threw the switch, the message went to the guy and he turned on all the electricity. There was a little bit of a sparking thing, and everybody went ooh-ah, a couple of ladies fainted. It was amazing.
Which president?
Garfield.
James W?
No, Cleveland. I jump around sometimes. This was printed in one of the papers of a picture of the fair illuminated at night. It doesn't do it justice. Frankly, that really doesn't do it justice either, but it gives you an idea. That's from the same spot. There's Columbia in the foreground. There's all of it. And you can see all, well, you can't really see because it's dark. There's people all around that just waiting for this. When they turned the switch on, and 100,000 light bulbs came on at once. Men fainted. Ladies screamed. Probably a few ladies fainted and a few men screamed. It was amazing. All the wiring is underground. Every bit of the wiring is underground. It is an amazing, amazing structure. This is kind of looking back. You can see the Ferris wheel, even the Ferris wheel. It's an absolutely amazing, amazing place. This is just some of the new things that were showcased at the World's Fair. Wrigley's Spearmint Gun, Cracker Jack, the first commercial popcorn maker at the fair. Aunt Jemima pancake mix at the fair. All of this. The dishwasher. The biscuit maker was a gentleman who was actually going to make biscuits, health biscuits. He discovered it didn't work very well. Nobody wanted to buy it, so he started a company called Shredded Wheat. He started making shredded wheat. He couldn't sell the biscuit maker, so he started making biscuits. First time the Pledge of Allegiance was publicly done, and they had a whole bunch of people in the center area, and all of them took the Pledge of Allegiance. Said the Pledge of Allegiance.
What's the third rail?
Third rail, when you're talking about an electric train, subway system, the third rail, you have two rails, the wheels going on. There's a third rail in the middle, and that's where all the power comes from. So all the power to run that electric train comes from that third rail. And that came from Mr. Westinghouse. What? And he actually developed an electric train that came from the city of Chicago out to the fair and back to ride the train. It was one of the first elevated tramways, and Chicago still has an elevator, and that's where it comes from.
What powered the moving sidewalk?
Excuse me?
What powered the moving sidewalk?
The moving sidewalk was powered by steam, as far as I can tell. I don't see anything that says that there was electric. It was a series of plates on rollers, and there was a steam turbine that powered the whole thing. Actually, there were I think, two steam turbines that powered the whole thing. It broke down more often than it could work. It was a new thing.
The hamburger?
The hamburger. Well, you see, the women didn't want to have restaurants because that would clutter up the thing. And they gave the contract for food to one company in Chicago. And he didn't want to have a whole bunch of, he knew that if he had people there sitting down, he couldn't serve as many things. And he'd have to have extra staff because he'd have to wash the dishes, right? So he had to come up with some way of feeding people without using dishes. So he came up with this self-contained scape, which he called a hamburger. Put it on a bun, on two buns, threw a burger in the middle of it, and sold it. And you could take that hamburger and walk around and enjoy it. And you wouldn't have to, the gentleman didn't have to have a formal.
What was his name?
What was that?
The guy who did it.
To be honest, I'll have to get back because I don't remember. He was a guy in Chicago, and I don't remember his name. Yeah, and that was the guy. And I can't think of his name.
Oh, what about the neon lighting system?
The neon lighting system. You see, Mr. Westinghouse won the contract for lighting of the fair. And Mr. Westinghouse was fully anticipating that Mr. E would share in this and would allow him to use his electric light bulb that he had invented. Mr. E, however, decided he wasn't going to do that. So Mr. Westinghouse took a Sawyer light bulb, which was actually an earlier light bulb exhibited in 1876. He owned the patent to that. He took that light bulb and created light bulbs throughout the exhibit. Problem was they burned out a little bit faster, so they didn't last as long, so they were always out there replacing light bulbs. But they also had a couple of ideas, and one idea they came up with was a light bulb that did not need a filament. You pumped this tube of glass with neon gas. You threw power through it and it lit up. Mr. Tesla comes up with this, and the advantage to this is depending on how much power you put in through it, it lighted up in different lights, different colors. So you could have different colored lighting. They had an electric fountain that before the fireworks, before they turned on the switch, the electric fountain came on, and all these lights and all these colors came on, and it was amazing, and people just were amazed to see all this. Remember, back in the day, that's your light bulb. That's, if you're rich, you've seen a light bulb. If you know people who are rich, you've seen their light bulb. You only turn it on for a short time though, because, we might go down.
Did you see Mr. Tesla?
Mr. Tesla, Nikola Tesla, and
TESLA?
TESLA, like the car, that's where they get the name from.
Okay, okay.
Nikola Tesla was an amazing man. Brilliant. Came to this country with basically nothing, with the idea. He'd been working on electricity in Europe, he's Romanian, and he came to this country to work with Mr. E. And he lands in New York. And he goes to Mr. E's office, and Mr. E is beside himself. He's 3 days behind on this project of rewiring this ship. And he doesn't know what to do. And here's this guy who doesn't look like he can do anything, and he wants a job. So Mr. E says, I'll tell you what, you've been bugging me for 2 or 3 days. I tell you what, if you go down and rewire that ship in 2 days, 3 days, I'll give you $1 million. Mr. Tesla went down, and in 2 days he rewired the entire ship, came back, asked Mr. E for $1 million. Mr. E says, oh, I'm sorry, you don't understand, you're human. Mr. Tesla was not a Jew. So he started his own company, and Mr. Tesla and Mr. Westinghouse got together, and they developed the alternating current system. Addressograph is literally an addressograph. You could put names and addresses on, and it would actually write the names and addresses on your envelopes and send it off. It was similar to a typewriter. They had typewriters here in the fair. They also had another thing that the gentleman developed to go along with Mr. Bell's invention of the telephone. This sent an electric circuit through this machine. I got a picture of it up here. You would write with this special pencil on this machine. It would send the image through the telephone line to another machine, and it would take a special stylus and write in your own handwriting whatever it was you wrote. He called it a facsimile machine. We wonder what we call it. Squash penny. You guys have seen the squash penny. Not the one you put on the railroad tracks, not that. The squash penny with the pictures on it or whatever. The first time they did it.
I thought it was the one on the railroad track, so you had.
No, this was, you would put a penny in a machine. Actually, you put in 50 cents plus. Now you put in 50 cents plus penny. I don't know what they charge you back then. And you crank this thing, and it will squash the penny and imprint it with the design. And you could pick 5 different designs at the fair. One said Colombian Exposition, and 3, had a picture with Columbus on it. Anybody like money? Anybody collect those quarters that we used to have, that we still have, with states on?
Yeah.
Commemorative coins are debuted at the Colombian World's Fair. And the first coins for America, the first coin depicting a woman, it's a 25-cent piece at the Colombian World's Fair. It depicted Queen Isabella, because she's the one who sent Columbus. Yeah, lovely. The wallpaper printing press. All kinds of talking about? Oh, the Hershey's chocolate. Hershey had been making caramel. It wasn't a big seller. He decided to add chocolate to it. It became a bigger seller. He decided to take the caramel out and just sell the chocolate, and it was a huge seller, and it took off. The bustle suit, Braille printing press, all of this, and more. This is only a part of it. What was that? This is in a early typewriter. I didn't do that. Amazing thing. This up here,
Dishwasher.
dishwasher. First debut in the electric kitchen with the Colombian World's Fair. Colombian World's Fair was an amazing, amazing place. The Palace of Fine Arts is the art museum that still exists in Chicago. It is a huge building. It's generally the same size as a lot of other art museums in a lot of other cities. Take a look at the size of that and compare it to the manufacturers in the world. Colombian World's Fair was an amazing